Hi friends, in this video we are going to solve reading part B of the OET. So let's kick off. As I told you before in my other video, what you have to do in part B, first read the extract and understand the meaning, then go to the question and the options. So let's start. Students performing high risk and most moderate risk procedures should always be supervised. That is an important point. Then exceptions would be NG2 placement and suturing. There is exception, but it doesn't tell, does not need. If someone asks for supervision, we can provide. A student who wants to be supervised for any procedure should be, and no student who feels uncomfortable should ever be made to feel pressured to do it without supervision. So let's see. So what you understand from this question? Students performing high risk and most moderate risk procedure should always be supervised. Exceptions for NG2 placement and suturing are there. Student who wants to be supervised for any procedure should be, and no student who feels uncomfortable should ever be made to feel pressurized when they are doing the procedure. So what is the question? The guidelines establish that. What the guidelines establishing here? First, the student should always be under supervision when performing high risk procedure. There is a chance just we put it. Then what are the other options? The student should not be under supervision while performing nasogastric tube insertion. Is it one? Just put query if you are doubt, because it's telling exceptions would be NG2 placement and suturing. Then what about the third one? A student who is uncomfortable with performing a simple procedure should be forced to do it in order to learn properly. No, it is wrong. It is not good because it's telling to me may feel pressurized, so it should not be forced, and the student should not be under supervision. A student who wants to be supervised for any procedure should be. So this is, so the correct answer is option A. The student should always be under supervision when performing high risk procedure. That is mentioned in the first paragraph itself. So that is the right answer. Then the second question. The medical practitioner who will perform the procedure should discuss other options with the patient, including medical procedures or treatment offered by other health practitioners and the option of not having the procedure. So what do you mean by when? If they want some second opinion, you can refer to other physicians, or if there is no need for any surgery like that, you can advise them also. A medical practitioner should decline to perform a cosmetic procedure if they believe that it is not in the best interest of the patient. If it's not beneficial for the patient, it can harm the patient, the medical practitioner has the right to decline to perform the procedure. So let's read the question. According to the extract, only the patient has the right or not to perform the procedure. No, it doesn't mention. Here is mentioned should decline. He has the right also. So that is wrong. Then the B option, the doctor should advise the patient against performing the procedure. He can just discuss other options to the patient and treatment offered by other health practitioners and option of not having procedure. Just put query because it's doubtful. He can advise. Then refusing to do the procedure is a decision that a doctor can make even if the patient is refusing this decision. So that is clearly mentioned. A medical practitioner should decline to perform a cosmetic procedure if they believe that it is not in the best interest of the patient. So this is the right answer, C option. I think it's clear for you. Then third question. In the event of any overpayment, duplicate payment or other payment by us in excess of the member's benefits payable according to the member's benefit plan, that is the overpayment, and all Blue Cross NC policies, you shall promptly remit the overpayment to Blue Cross NC. In addition to other remedies, if within 45 days of a request for a refund by us, the requested refund has not been made, we may recover the overpayment amount by offset of future amounts payable to you. That is an important point. Neither Blue Cross NCO nor you may initiate recovery of overpayments or underpayments respectively any later than 24 months after the date of the original claim payment, with the following exceptions: fraud, misrepresentation, and other intentional misconduct. So what is the question? This policy states that in case of overpayment by the organization, the initiation of recovery should be made within 45 days. Let's read what it's mentioned here. We can see. In addition to other remedies, if within 45 days of a request for a refund, here it's mentioned refund, here it's telling about initiation of recovery. So this is wrong. Then what is the B option? Refund should be made within 24 months. We have already seen within 45 days, but let's clarify here also. Neither Blue Cross NCO nor you may initiate recovery of over. This is the recovery, and here it is mentioned refund within 45 days, and so this is also wrong. So the option is here. The organization may overcharge you on the next payment, you may, but we can confirm by reading. According to the members' benefit plan and all Blue Cross NC policies, you shall promptly remit the overpayment to Blue Cross NC. In addition to other remedies, if within 45 days of request for a refund by us, the requested refund has not been made, we may recover the overpayment amount by offset of future amounts payable to you. So they will take from your next, overcharge you on the next payment. This is the answer we can find here. So C is the right option. Then let's move on to the next question. When multiple diagnostic cardiovascular services are performed during the same outpatient session, the allowance for the technical component of the primary procedure is 100%. The allowance of the technical component of the second and each subsequent imaging procedure is 75%. When it's doing second time, there is a discount. It will be only 75%. When multiple diagnostic ophthalmology service, the initially it is saying about the cardiovascular, then ophthalmology performed during the same outpatient patient session, the allowance for the technical component of the primary procedure is 100%. First time for the ophthalmology also 100. The allowance for the technical component of the second and each subsequent imaging procedure is 80%. So for the ophthalmology, it is 80% the second time. For the cardio, it is 75%. The multiple procedure payment reduction on diagnostic imaging applies when multiple services are furnished by the same physician or physician in the same group practice to the same patient on the same session on the same day. The allowance for the technical component primary procedure is 100%. The allowance for the technical component of the second and each subsequent imaging procedure is 50%. For cardio, for all the primary time, the allowance is 100. The second time it differs. So for the cardio, second time 75, ophthalmology 80%, and for the diagnostic evaluation it's 50. So let's read the question. The allowances, that is the question. What are the options? 100% for the first lower limb X-ray performed for the patient. It seems like that, no, but just eliminate the other options to confirm the answer. 80% for the third echo performed for the patient. For the cardiovascular, what is mentioned? 75%. So that is wrong. Then 75% for the second fundoscopy performed for the patient. For the ophthalmology, second time is 80%. So this also wrong. So the right answer is option A. Then the extract 5. The Colin STBP 780 is an automated electronic heart rate and blood pressure monitor capable of accurate readings at rest and during exercise. The unit assesses heart rate via wires connected to 4 electrodes placed on the thorax and abdomen. Blood pressure is assessed during deflation of the cuff via 2 microphones in the cuff. The front display provides clear, easy to read measurements of heart rate, systolic and diastolic BP, elapsed time and error messages. When turning the system on, a self-check is performed automatically. The field for the systolic blood pressure at the top left corner of the blood pressure monitor displays an estimate of systolic BP during deflation. This number flashes as the measurement is being taken. Once the systolic and diastolic blood pressure and the heart rate are measured, all three values are displayed on the monitor and downloaded to the computer screen and system database during the test. So let's see. According to the extract, what the extract is telling about. So the question option is A. The device automatically downloads your heart rate and BP to the computer. Send something because it's here. All three values are displayed on the monitor and downloaded to the computer screen. So let's see. Just put. We will see. Then B option, the device automatically measures your heart and BP when turned on. Is it mentioned here? When turning the system on, a self-check is performed automatically. It doesn't mean it measures your heart and BP when turned on. So that option is wrong. Then C option, when measured systolic BP number flashes on the top left corner of the monitor. Somewhere we read the field for the systolic blood pressure at the top left corner of the blood pressure monitor displays an estimate of systolic BP during deflation. This number flashes as the measurement is being taken. It only tells about it flashes, the measurement is taken. It doesn't tell when measured, the flashes on top of the left corner of the monitor is. So this is a distractor here. We may think it's mentioned the left corner of the blood pressure, everything, so we may write, but this is the right one. The computer device automatically downloads your heart and BP on the computer. We can find the answer here. The next option, next extract. According to the extract, choose in incorrect answer. So be careful when you are reading the question. Read it carefully. If we didn't read its incorrect answer, we may write the right answer. So our answers will get wrong. So always read carefully the question and options. So let's read the extract. It's a big extract. Traditionally, sterilization of endoscopes and accessories has been indicated for the rare occasions when they are to be used as critical medical device when there is a potential for contamination of an open surgical field. Sterilization can be achieved by using a variety of methods including ethylene oxide gas treatment, and it can be achieved with appropriately long exposure to a liquid chemical germicides. Because of the complexity of the instrument channel design, sterilization of flexible endoscope is difficult to accomplish. In addition, Endoscope durability and function are potentially compromised with repeated cycles of sterilization. As you know, if we clean repeatedly some item, it will can be get damaged in the future, especially if it's like rubber item, plastic, so it can affect the durability. Users report when processed when that endoscopes experience a shortened use life because of the material degradation issues when processed repeatedly in ethylene oxide. So everybody is complaining that the durability, the life is shortened. It's spoiled easily. Then because of these factors as well as a lack of data for demonstrable benefits to the further reduction in endoscope bacterial spore counts achieved by sterilization instead of HLD. Sterilization with ethylene oxide is not recommended over HLD for standard GA endoscopes. There is no clear data also. There are lacking data. However, an FDA cleared liquid chemical sterilant processing system has been approved to provide sterilization of cleaned, immersible, reusable and heat sensitive critical and semi-critical devices. So the question is asking about which is incorrect. Which option is the incorrect? So first, the endoscope cannot withstand repeated cycles of sterilization. Yeah, we read from that one, the the life will be shortened because of this is true. They are asking incorrect answer. So this is not the option. Then what is the B option? Flexible endoscopes are easier to clean when compared to fixed ones. Is it mentioned like that in the question? Because of the complexity of the instrument channel design, sterilization of flexible endoscope is difficult. Here it's mentioned easier. So this is the incorrect answer. That means our correct answer here. Just see option C also. Data that is available to assess the efficiency of sterilization over HLD is not enough. That is correct. Here it's mentioned. No? Where is that one? Because of these factors as well as a lack of data for demonstrable benefits to the further reduction in endoscope bacteria spores count achieved by sterilization instead of HLD. So there is lack of data. That is means lack means not enough. So this is the incorrect answer. That is the right option. I think it's clear for you. And now you got some idea how to solve B part. Thank you by watching my channel, and if you are watching my channel first time, please like and subscribe it and share with your friends also. Thank you. Bye.